Hello YouTube. Well, today's video is going to be on Bajaj Pulsar. My friend got this bike shortly before Bajaj introduced the UG4 update. Let me just start with a quick walk around. Now this is not the UG4 bike because you can see here that it doesn't have the clip-on handlebars, but it does have the tank scoop. The bike still looks quite good. I think it's about 10 years old and I don't think the paint has faded. Overall it still looks good. It doesn't look like it's 10 years old. You can also see the switchgear on this. Unfortunately the speedometer doesn't work. I guess you'll have to replace the battery. Now here's my bike. I have a Bajaj Pulsar RS200 and the main reason why I got an RS200 over an R5 version 3 is because of this guy. Many people tell that Pulsar engines are not reliable, but having ridden this bike and which is over 10 years old and close to 90,000 on the odo, the engine I still think it maintains its integrity. I don't find any vibes on this bike. It's actually smoother than the Hornet which I owned before, and I don't think he's really made any changes. But at 90,000 the only thing he's ever changed is the clutch plate and maybe the chain sprocket a couple of times. But as far as the maintenance goes, if you kind of maintain your bike well, the Pulsar engines do last long. Right, that's the owner of the bike, Priyadarshan, and we're gonna just show you the exhaust notes. So that's what it sounds like. Rev it to 6,000 RPM. There you go, that's the exhaust note, and it doesn't sound that impressive, but it's still pretty decent. I guess the BS4 engines do sound a little better than this. So the electric start doesn't work because it doesn't have a battery, so I'll have to kickstart it. Haven't done that in a while. And here we go. Alright, it's actually quite smooth. I really cannot express how smooth this is. It feels like I'm riding a Unicorn 150, you know, the old model Unicorn 150s. I'm not sure if it's going to be as refined if I push it above 6,000 RPM, but at lower revs this bike is butter smooth. I'll just take it for a short spin in the city. And it rather sounds good as well. Wow, slick gearbox. I kinda envy this guy because my RS200 isn't as refined. Maybe, yeah, like after 6,000, 7,000 rpm, that bike's it's in a different league altogether. But here in the city, this feels quite punchy, and the level of refinement, I don't think you guys are gonna believe me, but it's actually smoother than my Hornet. It doesn't have that punchy feeling you get when you ride a Gixxer or an RTR 164V. The acceleration is linear, and I think the clutch plates aren't that good. He might have to replace the clutch plates again. It has covered over 90k. The speedometer, the trip meter doesn't work anymore. It's just so nimble, and it's perfect for city commuting. Let me just take a U-turn and take this bike to high RPM. Just because I'll be taking to the highway shortly, where I'll do a top speed run. But I just want to check if it has vibes post 6,000 RPM. Here we go. Not much. Not bad at all. Yeah, it's not accelerating as as good as a Hornet or an Apache, but it's very refined. I do get slight sensation of vibes in the foot peg, but it's still pretty good. It's still pretty refined. And this guy has never changed anything else, just the spark plugs, air filter, chain sprocket a couple of times, and the clutch assembly. So the suspensions are still good. It's not as hard as my RS200. I shouldn't be even comparing these two bikes. They're generations apart, and it's a 150 and a 200. But it's just that I have a Pulsar, and I really wish that when my bike has 50 or 60,000 kilometers on the auto, it will be as refined as this bike. And it's running on Motul semi-synthetic. Usually he uses the Bajaj oil, but I don't think it makes a difference on this bike. It's super refined. I'm gonna check the top speed of this Bajaj Pulsar 150 DTSi. Now the newer models may have slightly higher top speed. I think this one makes about 14.5 bhp, and then the UG4 Pulsars, they made about 15.2. The new ones make about 14.8 or something like that. But I think this should max out at 115. I'm at the highways, so let's give this a try. Okay, so 120. 120 km per hour is the top speed. That's pretty darn good. I mean, it goes to 110 pretty comfortably. But after 110 to 115, it takes a while, and post that you need to really bend down, and you'll have to crouch on the tank to get it to 120. And the engine does feel stressed at 120. It can do. I think the max it can do is maybe 122 or 123. Had got a longer stretch of road. I might have touched 122. And the speedo error on this bike is 7%. So 120 on the speedo, it's about 110, 111, no, 111, 112 on in GPS. So I'm quite impressed. You know, a bike that's 10 years old, it can still do 120 km per hour. It gives a mileage about 45. So it's amazing. And when I did 120, I didn't feel like the engine is gonna fall apart. I didn't feel confident because of the tires. These have skinny tires, and especially at high-speed corners, I didn't feel confident at all. But apart from that, the engine is amazing. And I really wish my bike, can survive this long. Considering it's more advanced, it has better hardware. I think it should, but that's something which time will tell. Alright, so after having ridden this bike for 15 kilometers, here's my take. The thing that I loved about this bike is the engine. Of course, it's not as peppy as an Apache or a Gixxer or even a Hornet, but it is a refined motor. And if you're somebody who's just looking to commute within the city, and if you want a bike that's of really cheap maintenance, then Pulsar 150 still makes sense today. But if I'm going to get a bike in the 150 to 160 cc category, I would be choosing an RTR 164V. But not everybody wants power. Some people are more into mileage and comfort. So people who are just looking for a bike to commute within the city, they can still go for Pulsar. It is a reliable machine. I kind of got reminded of riding a Unicorn 150. Now, a lot of people say that Bajaj bikes are not reliable. That's a hoax. It's a myth. If you maintain the engine well, if you maintain the bike well, Bajaj bikes can be as reliable as any other bike, any other 150 or 160 cc bike you can buy for this price. So I think now it's about it is 80,000 on road. If you guys still want to go ahead and buy a Pulsar, please go for it, and do not worry about the fact that the engine of Pulsars don't last long, because they certainly do. And next up will be the modern day Pulsar RS 200. Stay tuned for that review. It's gonna come up in a week. Thank you for watching, guys.